Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm really sorry about the light today, but it's been raining non-stop for 48 hours and this is the most light we've had since like 3 days ago, so I'm sorry guys, I really am. I just wanted to film today's video and these are the best conditions I have. In the future I will probably invest in getting some proper professional lighting, but so far I've been getting away with natural light, so I got cocky, I think. Anyway, if you're new here and have no idea who I am, other than the fact that I'm wearing a Camp NaNoWriMo shirt, my name is Alina, I'm an author and I post videos on YouTube about books and writing, or as it happens today, storytelling in general and a bit of my inspiration. Today is going to be a different kind of video. I'm talking about my top 5 favorite anime of all time. I've been watching anime since I was about 12, I think, something like that, when they first made their nice merry way through Mania, so it's been a while. I kept watching them over the years. I don't pretend to be a connoisseur of the genre, I'm just sharing my ultimate favorites. So far, things might change in the future if, you know, I see more and fall in love with new anime, because although some of these anime are kind of, I have the list here. Some of these anime are quite old, I've only recently seen them, and I blame my boyfriend for it because he's convinced me to watch them and forever break my heart with watching them. Anyway, not a lot of happy stories in here, but they're amazing and I'm going to share them with you. Now, I know the anime community gets a bit crazy, but remember, I'm just a measly author. Don't be too harsh. I'm sorry if your favorites are not included. These are my favorites. I'm not stating anything about the quality of this series. I'm not saying they are the best of all time. They're just my top favorites. So let's get this show rolling. Before I get into the anime that I love the most and share them with you, by the way, I will share a poster and the year of each of these anime in, you know, my video editing process so that you can see them all. So before we start, just please allow me to share a few honorable mentions, and I will state the reasons for listing these as we go. The first honorable mention goes to an anime that I think is very old, and it's called Candy Candy. It was the first anime I ever seen, and it follows this girl Candy. Obviously, from the time I think she's 10 or something, she's really young, and into adulthood, well into adulthood. This is the most depressing story ever, because every guy this girl loved either dies tragically, like in war or something, or they leave her for some reason. This anime also introduced me to my first anime boyfriend, and that was Teddy, and he was amazing and I adored him. Up until the part where he decided that 3 people being unhappy is so much better than 2 people being happy and 1 being unhappy. And if you don't know what I mean by that, well, he was in love with Candy, Candy was in love with him, but some other girl was in love with him too, and she had an accident saving his life that made her unable to walk anymore. So their solution to this was that Candy and Terry should break up and be forever unhappy, and he should marry that girl, because she wasn't unhappy enough being in love with someone who didn't love her back and not being able to walk. She was supposed to be tied up forever to a guy who would probably resent her in the future. I do not understand anime logic. Sorry. It wasn't a happy one, like I said. Anyway, the ending of this anime is something that could be a song lyric, and that's "At least I got my friends." Because at the end of this, she gets no one, she doesn't end up with any of the guys she's loved over the years, it's all very dramatic, and she ends up a nurse and happy with her friends around her. Yes, it is stupid. I know. Anyway, I loved it at the time because it was the first one. So it gets an honorable mention. The next one that gets an honorable mention is Scum's Wish, which is a new release. It was released this year actually, but it was a brilliant anime show. It follows teenagers, but it's not your typical, oh, let's go to school and be happy and have love issues. No, this is a lot darker and more dramatic. There's a lot of unrequited love going in there, and a lot of, you know, self-discovery and getting all those sexual feelings and trying to explore them and failing miserably. There are a lot of twisted, mean characters which somehow seem normal and cute and nice to the outside world. And also there's a lesson in there about true love curing everything that's wrong about you. I don't know. The most horrible person, a woman who was just, you know, having fun with everybody and breaking everybody's heart, at some point discovers she actually wants to marry someone and settle down and stop cheating on everybody because, well, she's found true love. Again, the main couple in this show don't end up together, because why would they? I watch creepy stuff. Anyway, the point about this anime is that it was interesting in how it dealt with teenagers. It didn't stick to that, oh, I'm so innocent and pure part that we see a lot in anime, and that was brilliant to me. Another special mention goes to Sekaiichi Hatsukoi, which pretty much translates to World's Biggest First Love. It's the first ever gay anime I've ever seen, so it's part of the yaoi or shonenai genre. I mean, the manga is considered yaoi, but the TV series is pretty tame, so I'd say shonenai. Anyway, it was the first one I've seen. It was by mistake, and then I discovered this entire genre and watched quite a bit of it. So it deserved a special mention. It has a companion manga and anime, which is created in the exact same style, and I know that appeared first, but this is the first one I saw and I had to mention it. And my last special mention, which might surprise some people if you watch anime at all, is Eromanga Sensei. It's again a very recent release, and it's the trashiest of trashy anime you will ever see. To quote a much more famous anime YouTuber, anime is trash and so are you. And I do feel like trash mentioning Eromanga Sensei, but God, it was enjoyable. And I will link to Gigak's channel around here somewhere. You should definitely watch him. I think his take on anime in general is quite interesting, on the genre, the new anime, and what you should watch. He's quite funny as well. But if someone wants to gift me one of his t-shirts that says anime is trash and so are you, I'm fine with that. Hint to my boyfriend, I want it for freaking Christmas. Moving on, let's get to the actual top. On the 5th place, I listed Ainokusabi, which is a very short series. It has 2 54 minutes episodes, and it was released way back in 1992, and then the second one came out in 1994, and in 2012 I think they tried to remake it and they ran out of budget and gave it up. Anyway, this is a sci-fi story. It happens in a futuristic world where people live in this huge technological city that is ruled by a supercomputer, and females are kind of not that many left, and the social order is by hair color, because why not? And the tall blonde guys are the elite, they're called blondies, and then the darker the hair, the lower your rank is. This is a civilization where sex slaves and sex dolls are allowed, but mind you, the elites don't dirty themselves by having sex with their own sex slaves or sex toys. No. They're just there, you know, to have fun among themselves, and the owners can enjoy them. Yes, it's weird and twisted, I know. The main characters are one of these blondies, one of the favorites actually of the supercomputer running the city, and a mongrel who's like the lowest ranking of them all, a dark-haired young guy who he takes as his sex slaves, and it's rumored that he sleeps with his sex slave. Actually, he's completely in love with him. It's a tragic story, I have to warn you, and it stuck with me, maybe because it's tragic. I love the visuals in this, I love the story concept and the society they created and how weird and twisted it all was. and how no one was exactly pure in all of this, yet they all strive to find that connection that kind of seemed to lack in their society. It was quite interesting. It's a light novel adaptation. I think if you try really hard you will find the English translation somewhere that you can buy it. It's not that easy, I tell you. Now moving on to the second one, if you can spot anything that's on my screen, it's the pages from my anime list for this series. So number 4 is Planetarian. This is another sci-fi, quite short. A robot that takes care of a planetarium. Society has been destroyed and there is no electricity, and she's powered on when some guy stumbles upon the mall where this planetarium was, and she tries to put on a show for him and then to help him get out of the city, because whatever technology was still working, it was failing. The robots went crazy, and instead of defending people, they were trying to kill them. It's not a happy ending one, again, because I hate myself, basically. So yeah, it's a lovely series. It's not too old. No, it's not old at all. It was released in 2016. It's a short one. It only has 5 episodes, and I definitely think you should check it out. Now we're moving into more of the classics part of my top, and on the 3rd position is Neon Genesis Evangelion, or for short EVA. This is supposed to be a mecha anime. It has nothing to do with the mecha genre in general. I mean, it goes against all the cliches in mecha, and I think it was a critique of the genre as well. The world is about to be destroyed by these huge beings that are called angels. There's a lot of Christian symbolism, like crosses and spears and magical stuff, which were there just because the director of this movie liked them a lot. There's no other point for them. I mean, there's no other deeper Christian symbolism. But I loved the take on the angels, which we look at angels as something that's fair but that protects us, and in this story the angels just keep coming and trying to destroy Earth. Then you have a bunch of teenagers which have to get into these huge robots and fight said angels. The robots are super strange. They're not your typical mecha suit. They seem to be alive in a way. Clearly they're not just some piece of junk that you use to enhance yourself. And the teenagers, they are made in a really great way. They all have sort of a tragic backstory, or a weird as hell backstory, but it's well done. It affects them. Shinji is kind of a coward and a whiny ass, and he has to deal with his father, who's pretty much cast him away for most of his life, and now when he needs him, he called Shinji to come help. The others in the team are not much better. They all have their issues. The other girls that dress up as mechas are just as weird and crazy, and they have these reactions that are natural when you think about them, but not exactly what you'd expect from a hero anime. They are no heroes, honestly. Even the one person who seems to be a hero is actually driven by rage and I think a bit of her own fear. Next, number 2 is a show that I never thought will go below number 1 in my top of favorites ever, and that's Berserk. And it didn't go down because of the new series, which are kind of crap, and his sword sounds like he's hitting a pen against a wall. Anyway, but Berserk is one of my favorite anime of all time. Obviously, it's number 2 in my top 5. But when I was watching it, I never thought I'd see anything more impressive than that. It's a sort of a fantasy setting. The first season is quite heroic. It's about this band of warriors that try to make their own fortune and gain as much recognition and power as they can. They have a charismatic leader, that's Griffith, and everyone just looks at him like he is the gift of God to all mankind. And he certainly doesn't act like it and wants everyone to have their own reasons to be fighting with him, but he is at the same time a pretty cold bastard. The character that is most recognized from Berserk is probably Guts, because he's this huge, extremely good warrior that is kind of easily defeated by Griffith when he joins the Band of the Hawk, but then grows into his own man and into his own warrior, and at the end he's even better than Griffith. And that is just the starting point, because while it looks like an alternate medieval world where, you know, these people fight other armies, at some point it gets into the fantasy field. And the first time the characters encounter something big and outworldly, it is powerful and they react accordingly. It's not the kind of world where every peasant at the corner of the street can pull a magic trick. But the moment the supernatural seeps into their world, it keeps coming and getting worse and getting creepier and darker, and the story gets twisted beyond any recognition. It's an amazing story, it's an amazing manga, the drawings are just breathtaking, and the anime is really great, especially the old anime and the movies that followed. The new seasons, not so much. You watch because you love Berserk, but I'm sorry, it's just that it's crappy. I'm sorry. They should not try CGI. And we go to my last one and my #1 choice for top anime of all time that I've loved is Cowboy Bebop. I think that's not a surprise to anyone who knows me like closely, and we've talked about it because I've been ranting about Cowboy Bebop for a lot of time. This is another sci-fi show. Yeah, I'm kind of biased. It's about a couple of bounty hunters, which are called cowboys. So it's pretty much cowboys in space. And the Bebop is their ship, if you were wondering where that part comes from. They go from place to place trying to catch criminals, to bring them to justice and get their rewards. They always end up losing said rewards somehow in a very weird way, and they're poor. Like dirt poor, which is part of their fun. And then there are more characters joining their team. The thing I love so much about Cowboy Bebop is that the people that flock to these guys and them as a couple, they're not a couple, I mean them as partners, it all makes sense. You would understand why these people band together or are drawn to each other. It's not something forced just for the purpose of the story. The other important thing is that the anime itself, it only has 1 season. It's a complete story. It doesn't leave room for any follow-ups, to be honest. But each individual episode is a full story in itself, which I think is amazing. And beyond that, each episode has a different style and a different feel, which makes it series perfection. Among all these episodes which stand on their own with no problem, there is an underlying story that connects the entire series, and it's beautifully done and it's touching, and as you're warned as you see the final episode, it will stay with you and torment you and go through your mind for a very, very long time. So this is my top 5 and I hope you've enjoyed this. If you do watch anime, please let me know what your favorites are in the comments. I would love to see what you're watching and what I should be watching, because I'm always looking for more recommendations. I didn't see anything particularly interesting last season, and I hope something fun happens in the fall season. So any recommendations would be great. Thank you again for watching. Like this video if you've enjoyed it and stick around for more, because I'm posting every day this month. Bye!